DC's animal welfare groups join forces.
And Cesar Milan brings his training tips to the district.
All that and so much more coming up on this edition of We Are Washington.
Welcome to We Are Washington. Two iconic animal welfare organizations in D.C. are joining forces, forming the Humane Rescue Alliance.
And the one and only Dog Whisperer launches a new show from the district. All that furry fun coming up, but first, here's the news rundown. In honor of World AIDS Day, Mayor Muriel Bowser reaffirmed a plan to end the district's HIV epidemic by 2020. The public-private partnership called 90-90-90-50 provides increased funding towards 4 specific goals, which the mayor described as ambitious but achievable.
90% of DC residents know their status. 90% of people with HIV being treated. 90% of people being treated will achieve viral load suppression, and we will decrease new cases by 50% by 2020.
Mayors from all over the world gathered in Mexico City for the C40 Summit. Mayor Muriel Bowser was among the more than 60 mayors participating in the Climate Change Summit. The goal of the conference is to give city leaders from around the world an opportunity to share ideas on creating sustainable, livable communities. The C40 Summit also signified the mayor's commitment to the Paris Agreement on climate change.
2 years after his death, Marion Barry's memorial at Congressional Cemetery is complete.
His widow, Cora Mastersberry, called the memorial a labor of love. Following the guidelines of the Congressional Cemetery, the grand headstone includes a bench, a carving of Barry's likeness, and several quotes.
Most people don't know. They don't know my work ethic. And they don't know about all of the fighting I've done to manage a government that was progressive and more oriented to uplift the people rather than to suppress them. That's what I want my legacy to be. I was a freedom fighter for the good economic livelihood of not only black people, but all people. That was Marion Barry.
The civil rights pioneer, affectionately known as Mayor for Life, died 2 years ago at the age of 78.
If you're looking to do business with a district government, you might want to get your hands on a copy of the Green Book. Mayor Muriel Bowser released the 2017 Green Book, or Small Business Opportunities Guide, at a launch event. The guide provides an agency-by-agency overview of spending available to small and local businesses.
What we are able to do with the Green Book is to identify both the opportunities that exist today, where there are lots of SBEs able to compete in the marketplace, but more importantly, we're also able to identify the gaps in opportunities where there are not SBEs who are able to do this important work. So if you want to know how to expand your business, if you want to know how to move forward and get more out of the procurement process of district government, we've given you a roadmap to do just that.
It's party time for DC seniors. More than 3,500 residents came together at the DC Armory for the mayor's annual senior holiday celebration. There was live music, health screenings, manicures, lunch, and of course, plenty of dancing.
It's a mix of beats, beans, and conversation at the Uprising Muffin Company. The first installment of the Beats and Beans discussion series was moderated by Grammy-nominated artist and producer Kakai and featured local musicians April and Vista. The artists discussed the creative process while sharing music and advice. Artist Jacob Lawrence tells the story of the Great Migration in an ambitious project on display at the Phillips Collection. The 60-panel presentation depicts the movement of over 1 million African Americans from the rural South to the industrial North in search of a better life. Lawrence created the series in the 1940s, and due to the size of the exhibit, the panels have been split up and shown at different museums over the years. The exhibit at the Phillips offers a rare chance to see the Migration series on display in its entirety. For more information, visit phillipscollection.org. The red carpet is getting rolled out for the premiere of the movie Jackie at the museum.
The film focuses on Jackie Kennedy's life following the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. The movie is centered on Theodore White's famed Life magazine interview with the widow following the events in Dallas in November of 1963. Natalie Portman portrays the former First Lady in the film. At the premiere, she discussed preparing for the role of Jackie.
Her voice is very specific, and she had an accent that really told a lot about where she came from, or her both where she grew up and then the schools she went to. So it was a lot of work to watch all the old interviews and White House tour and try and perfect that.
So what do you think? You're going to end up seeing the movie, Jackie?
I am ready to go.
Okay.
I've been waiting for this movie to come out, and I'm planning to bring my daughters because they're teenagers, and I really think that they don't have much of an appreciation for that time period and really for the kind of impact that she had at that time, and what an iconic figure she is.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you. I think that a lot of what you see about the Kennedy assassination and what you read about the Kennedys is always revolving around that period of time, around his presidency, and you don't hear much about, or as much about what happened following the assassination and what Jacqueline Kennedy had to do, keeping her family together and all that she went through. You don't hear as much about that. So I think this is going to be a really interesting story to see played out in a movie for that reason.
Especially since we have that great interview, and she's a rather reclusive figure, so we don't know that much about her. To see those events through her eyes, I think, is really fascinating.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And if anybody was wondering, Natalie Portman was extremely pregnant at the red carpet.
At the red carpet.
So kudos to her for going to a red carpet, attending a red carpet when she's clearly about 8 or 9 months pregnant.
Right. And it reminds me too, when they were just months ago, they were actually filming the movie here in the district. So that was really another great part of this whole movie, is that you got to see a lot of it being filmed down in the mall area, at the White House, around the White House. And then months later, you have the opportunity to go see and check it out at the movie theater, all that action you saw being filmed live. So
exactly, one of the big perks of living in Washington, D.C.
I'd say so.
We're going to change gears a little bit here, and coming up, we'll visit with the inspiring organization that's coming to the rescue of the city's unwanted animals. Don't go away.
Welcome back to We Are Washington. As dog lovers, Matt and I are thrilled to be here at the Humane Rescue Alliance.
Absolutely, we're always looking for excuses to hang out with them.
Definitely, and there are a lot of cute ones here.
A lot here, a lot here to see, definitely. So that's why today we're happy and fortunate to be joined by Becca Stern, who's the adoptions manager. Thank you so much for your time and chatting with us today.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
First off, for people who aren't familiar with the Alliance, tell me how the organization was established.
So the two legacy organizations, both based out of Washington, D.C., the Washington Humane Society, the Washington Animal Rescue League, both been around for over a century, right? So we realized we're doing so much great work for the district and the surrounding communities, but we could do so much more together. So in February of this year, we merged, and October 24th, so not that long ago, we did release our new name, because we were previously calling ourselves the Washington Humane Society, Washington Animal Rescue League, bit of a mouthful. So the Humane Rescue Alliance pulls from both legacy organizations' names because we do want to reflect the history, but also, kind of reflect what we want to do moving forward as well. So it's very exciting, and we're happy that everybody can be a part of this piece of history.
Great. And as we were talking about, there are a lot of animals here. So talk to me a little bit about the steps for adopting. Say you're somebody who's at home and they're thinking about it. They come here. What do they do? What sort of things should they be ready, be prepared to do to adopt an animal?
Well, so we really pride ourselves on having an open adoptions philosophy. What that means is we don't have a lot of barriers to adoption. We obviously want people to be educated about pet ownership, what to prepare for, what to expect, but we don't want it to be so burdensome that they feel they're not qualified to adopt, right? We want everybody to feel like they can be a good pet owner. So first of all, we have lots of animals here. We have obviously mostly dogs and cats. We have small animals. We have snakes, birds. Sometimes
I don't want to see the snakes.
Yeah, no, don't worry. They aren't in this building.
Okay, good.
They're where I work. We've occasionally gotten in baby alligators. We don't adopt those out. They go to a wildlife rescue. But our adoption process, because we don't have a lot of barriers, it is first come, first serve. It's same day. Our adoption fees are staggered based on the animal's age, and we actually have a lot of really awesome programs, such as Boomer's Buddies, which will waive the fee for an animal over the age of 5 if the adopter is over 50. So we really focus on making really, really appropriate matches and helping everybody find their good companion.
That's great, and I know there is an art to that, helping people adopt the right pet. So what do you tell people are some common mistakes or things to be careful about?
I think being too restrictive of themselves, thinking, oh, I live in an apartment in DC, I can't have a big dog, right? Or, you know, I travel once every couple of months, I probably can't own a dog, right? So we kind of talk them through, well, what are your expectations of pet ownership? Just because you live in an apartment in DC doesn't mean you can't have a big dog. You want to look for energy level. What's your capacity as a pet owner? So we really try to facilitate a conversation with them. You know, they come into the shelter, they look around, we show them an animal, fill out a questionnaire, and based on, you know, that interaction, we really help to guide them. We don't want to tell them, no, you can't have this animal because, and we don't want themselves telling themselves that either. So it's all based on like a very good conversation between the adopter and the adoption staff.
Sure, and as we were saying, a lot of different types of animals here. But tell me about some of the ways that they end up here, the animals that end up here. How do they get here? Where are they from? Where are you finding them? Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I mean, the two major ways obviously would be owner surrenders. What we see a lot in DC obviously is landlord issues. Weight restrictions, breed restrictions especially, that's a big one for us. A lot of times people will live in an apartment building and just not realize that they have restrictions on their lease, and a couple months in, their landlord decides to tell them, and we take that animal in. We do actually have a really great front desk staff that will tell people their tenant rights as well, though, which is important, understanding what your landlord can and cannot do. But so owner guardian surrender is a big one, and then strays. So many stray animals in the DC and surrounding area. And then less commonly, but still something that we're doing, and this is a really cool part of Washington Animal Rescue League legacy, part of the organization, is transferring in from other high-need areas, like Alabama, Mississippi, places in the South.
A lot of those places seem to have issues with overpopulation and a lot of strays. And it's such great work that you guys do here. It must give you so much satisfaction. What is it like for you personally to do this kind of work where you're finding homes for all these wonderful animals?
Well, I always really loved animals. As a little kid, I was always that kid wandering around in the neighborhood by myself, probably picking up bugs and petting the cats and dogs outside. So it's certainly always been a part of me, right? And then I've been here for about a little over 2 years now, and I love working with people so much, and animals, obviously. And I think that to me is the most rewarding thing, that you don't want to forget about the people that we're servicing. So from an adoptions perspective, obviously, we're helping people find companions, people, getting out of the military that need a dog to kind of help them through some stuff. I mean, those experiences are really, really cool, really fulfilling. But then also being able to be a part of an organization that has so many other programs, our low-cost veterinary services, spay, neuter, just education for the public on pet ownership. So I think obviously it's the little stuff, it's the day-to-day adoptions aspects, but on a whole, it's cool to be a part of this place.
Yeah, that's great to hear too.
Yeah.
You have, all those, again, wide-ranging experiences, and it is fulfilling. It's fulfilling work to do. But tell me about some of the ways that people can get involved and can volunteer or give their time if they'd like to do so. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a really robust volunteer program. All the information can be found on our website, humanerescuealliance.org. You have to be 18 or older in order to train and do hands-on stuff with the animals. If you are under the age of 18, there's a lot of ways that you can help, making toys for dogs, cat toys. You can collect money at your school. So even if you're not old enough to physically come to the shelter and help out, there's always a way that you can contribute. Fostering is a really important aspect of what we do here. Our foster program nearly doubles our in-shelter capacity. Wow. Because people are taking these animals that we've flagged as needing, for some reason, to get out of the shelter while they're still waiting for their adoptive homes. So you can apply online for that as well. Let's say you can't adopt permanently. Fostering is a great way, and you're helping that animal find a home.
All right, thank you for that. It's a lot of great information. We appreciate it. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on We Are Washington. Welcome back to We Are Washington. There were so many great animals we were able to meet at the Humane Rescue Alliance during our visit. And you know, once you've made that decision to adopt an animal and rescue an animal and give it a home, the next step, you have to make sure that it's properly trained. That's why we spoke to one of the pros on the topic, right?
And you know, as a dog owner, it was a dream of mine to get the chance to speak with Cesar Milan. He's best known for his shows The Dog Whisperer and Cesar 911, which I watch all the time. But now he's got a new show that features his son, Andre, called Dog Nation. Take a look. Cesar Milan, we are thrilled to have you in Washington, D.C. Tell me about this new project.
Well, first of all, thank you very much. And this new project is very special for me because this time I'm doing it with my son, Andre, who's 22 now. I always wanted my kids to be part of what I do because I love what I do. I didn't know they wanted to do it as well, you know, so now that Andre said, yeah, I want to join in. And so what we're doing right now is we're doing a, it's a tour, you know, where we are finding people who are doing amazing things. We put the spotlight, you know, we make the awareness so people know that other people are doing great things in their environment, in their neighborhood. And we also go and visit the fans, you know, and at the same time, I also do like a live show. Because a lot of people believe that what I do is edit it. So I want to make sure that people recognize and realize the energy is real, you know, who you are in the animal world is energy. So it's very important for people to see it live.
And in watching your show, you do get a sense of just what an amazing sense you have of dog and human interaction. What do you attribute to your success, and do you think that this is something you've passed on to your sons?
Well, the respect to nature is something that I definitely pass to my sons. We respect how the dog view the world. We don't want to make a dog human. Most of my clients want to humanize the dog, and they want the dog to fulfill an empty spot in them. So the human says, I want you to fulfill me, versus the human fulfilling the needs of a dog. So for my kids, I said, we're going to first and foremost respect the needs of a dog, so then they can give us trust, respect, and loyalty in return.
So much looking forward to the new show. Can't wait to see it. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, and I can't wait for you guys to see my son in action, to see what I have raised. I'm very proud.
Andre, you must be so excited. Tell me about this project.
Well, this project, I'm here doing it with my dad. I'm, you know, coming from a different perspective, coming from the millennial side of things. I want to get, you know, the attention of my generation so we can help spread awareness and, you know, recognize all these amazing organizations that are out there making a change in the nation.
And you've worked, you know, alongside your dad. You've been a part of his empire, really, yes. Over the years. What have you learned from him?
Well, growing up, I've always learned to respect Mother Nature, because in return you will get the same respect. Never, obviously, his protocols and his concept, you know, nose, eyes, ears, no touch, no talk, no eye contact, things like that. And it really helps and goes a long way to help grow, especially just as a human, because, you know, you apply these concepts to, you know, the human world. And with that, you get the same respect that you want.
Sometimes when I watch your dad working with animals, it's almost like watching, you know, a medium, or it's like he's, you know, telepathic or something. Right. Do you feel that you've inherited some of those abilities to just kind of read a situation, or have this kind of instinctual understanding of maybe what problems might be happening?
Well, I mean, I do watch him all the time. I did grow up around him, you know, my whole life. So watching him and studying him is one of my biggest, you know, things that I'm really good at, is because I can really understand where he's coming from and then see from out of the box perspective. And I think that helps a lot, because then with other things I can help, you know, change the view on certain situations.
Do you feel, you know, now that you're following his footsteps, is there, you know, some pressure in that to kind of, you know, further his legacy?
Yes, I mean, there's no pressure at all. I mean, it's just it's what comes naturally. It's innate in us, and so I feel like doing something as such as we're doing today, and, you know, for the show and stuff, I think it's awesome. I don't really feel stressed or nervous or anything. I love spreading education and knowledge, in which that's like my biggest goal, and so that will help, like I said, further down the line.
Okay, wonderful. Lastly, what advice do you have for young people who are interested in getting a dog and they go to a shelter? What should they look for, and what should they ask themselves before taking home a dog?
Right, well, like, number one is research. Always do your research first on what kind of dog is right for you. And then always, when you go to a shelter, the number one thing my father says is look at the energy and match with the energy that's right for you, because you could have a high energy dog and you could be a low energy human. And so that won't, you know, relate, or that won't Yeah, it won't, go together well. So, like, the whole point is to, just watch and observe first, do your research, and don't impulsively obtain an animal just out of emotion. Make sure you're prepared for this, you're ready, your lifestyle is accustomed to, being able to, live around a dog.
And don't just get a dog because your children are begging you
Yes,
to,
yeah,
which is what I did.
exactly,
Okay.
No,
But that can work out too. Well, thank you so
Thank you so
much.
much.
We're
I
really
appreciate it.
looking forward to seeing you.
Thank you so much.
You know what I find so interesting about Cesar Milan is how much he emphasizes that he really trains people. So there's so much human psychology involved in training your dog.
That's probably a good approach. Yeah, focus on the people, right?
Exactly.
So what about, okay, for you, getting a chance to meet him and talk to him, was that interesting? Did you get a chance to ask any questions you had about training maybe your dog at home? Or what do you
Not that
think?
he needs any training. Actually, I'm a big fan, so I'm familiar with a lot of his training techniques, and I really respect him. But it's kind of like talking about your children. You don't want to divulge too much about what's going on.
Sure, no, I get that. Yeah,
so it's a little self-conscious. But that about does it for this week's edition of We Are Washington. But we do have time for one last thing. Matt, what you got?
That's right. One last thing. I want to go back to talk about the Humane Rescue Alliance and the interview and the talk we had with them, which was a great chat. But we had some more information that we learned actually afterwards about what they provide at the Humane Rescue Alliance, so that when somebody does find a pet and they find a cat or a dog or anything they want to make part of their family, that they don't have to bring it back, because so many people have a hard time making, month to month, in terms of getting pet food.
Exactly.
Or in terms
It's
of paying the
expensive.
bills. So they will provide services in helping you with pet food, animal food, and then also helping people pay for veterinary services.
Very expensive.
They work-
That's so important.
It is. And they work on a sliding scale, they said, based on how much money you make and how much you can afford at the time, which I think is a phenomenal service to offer in making sure that animals are able to find a home and then actually stay there once they do.
And they're so sensitive. I mean, you can really sense their commitment
Right.
to not only placing, animals into homes, but making sure that it's a forever home and
Sure.
that everybody's, happy with the situation. They really do so
Right.
much for that. So I really admire how much they're doing.
And sometimes that can be the biggest deterrent too. If you're thinking about adopting a pet, you're not sure, and what if you have to bring it back, and that becomes something that stops you from doing it. But they want to make sure that they're doing everything that they can do to find those animals a home and keep them there. So maybe one of the most important last things we've done in terms
Very
of information,
important.
right?
Very important.
All right. Well, that will do it for us this time on We Are Washington.
See you next time.